All right, folks, we've been waiting on this one. Of course, we had a bad day yesterday, but a lot of teams did. But I think Florida's been looking for this for about 2 years now. And Billy is officially fired. It's pretty much all over the place. I'll pull up some things and show you how official it is now. Matter of fact, let's pull this up to the stage. Pete Thamel says Florida is firing Coach Billy Napier. He was 22-23 in 4 seasons. They're 3-4 this year. They got a bye week, which is why it made sense for them to do this. ESPN has come out with it as well. So I don't think there's any question that this is a done deal. They're going to owe him $20 million here. On3's got it. Pete Nakos, Chris Lowe, and Brett McMurphy are all reporting it. So that's about as official as it gets. Definitely fired. Florida parts ways. Let's see what all we've got. A Gators Network comes out with it, breaking. Billy Napier. Yeah, there's a lot of folks that are really happy about this now. I'm sure that High Top Sports and Alley Peak and Locked On they're thrilled. They've been wanting to fire him for going on a year and a half now, but they've had to kind of cover the team as positively as they can, which is not easy to do when you know the coach is no good. I mean, the guy's under 500 at Florida in his 4th year. That's absurd. I've been watching X all day. I wanted to see if we'd get any information on Tony Vitello. I haven't heard anything new on him. It's still sort of out there. We're waiting on his decision of whether or not he's going to stay at Tennessee to be the baseball coach or whether he's going to go to San Francisco Giants, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. So we've got Franklin's been fired. He's owed $49 million. We've got so many teams have already let guys go. The Franklin one's the big shocker. Napier at $20 million. We've kind of known that one was coming. We don't know about Hugh Freeze. He's on the hot seat. Shane Beamer's now been placed on the hot seat. There's so much going on, but I do have the reaction from the Florida Gator fans. They put this out when they heard the news. Yeah, they're pretty happy about it. They're sick and tired of him. And what saved him, of course, last year, they were going to fire him definitely. And he wound up winning the last 4 ball games and wound up with 8 wins and totally creaked him because he was as gone can be. And here's a little clip of how that occurred last year.
You know, Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
Yeah, so they couldn't fire him last year because he won 8 ball games with a very difficult schedule. Now, they'll stick an interim in there, and then it becomes the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes. And it's going to be a wild ride. Poor Ole Miss. They almost beat Georgia. I thought they were going to beat Georgia last night, but they didn't. And now they can't even enjoy a good year that they're having again because you know Lane. Lane's going to go out on a date with them, guaranteed. He's going to cheat on them and probably spend the weekend with Florida. And it's not going to end up good for anybody on that. Now, the question is, will Lane take the job? Because he's guaranteed a $2 million raise now by Ole Miss. I mean, they'll match what Florida offers. It's just a matter of whether or not he wants to go to Florida or not. But they're going to be after him like crazy. I'm sure Penn State is too, because Kurt Cignetti has already signed a contract for 8 years, $11 million a year. Okay, that's the new going rate, by the way. It's $11 million a year, unless you're Kirby Smart, who's at 13. So Lane's looking at probably 11 would be the minimum. And I think Ole Miss will match that. So it's just a matter of whether or not he wants to go to Florida or not. You know, he's got his kids there at Ole Miss, so they might give him another video like they did at Auburn. He was going to Auburn. I believe that was a done deal. And then, like I said, he got emotional with his family, and they gave him a video of how wonderful it was there at Ole Miss. So you better get that video ready for him down there, because otherwise it's not going to work out so good. Other possibilities, Alex Golesh, I think would be a great hire for them. Now, I'm not happy about that. I don't want either one of them there. I wanted Billy to stay, but look, you can wish in one hand and take a dump in the other and see which one fills up the quickest. I was lucky to get 4 years of Billy, and that was pretty outstanding, honestly, as a Tennessee fan. But look, all things must come to an end. All good things must come to an end. They can't last forever. And Billy, he was hanging on by a thread anyway. And you can't be 22 and 23 over 4 years at Florida and expect to keep your job. I mean, this is not some crap school. They won't put up with it. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. The Tony Vitello thing, we'll find out about that pretty soon. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. You know, you see these coaches. First of all, Lane, we're talking about Lane. And, of course, Lane pulled this stunt on Tennessee. Now we got Tony Vitello who's thinking about doing the same damn thing. And it's insane. I mean, you get to a place where you're getting treated like gold. And you've got this magical thing where you're the mayor of Knoxville. You're making $3 million a year. He's the highest paid baseball coach in the country, and he's thinking about going to the San Francisco Giants. Now, Billy was happy at Florida. Billy would have stayed. But I think he was making $7 million a year. They know they're going to have to go to 11. They may have to go to 12 or even 13 to get Kiffin. And then if not, then they could probably get Golesh for 7.5. You know, no problem. They could get him for the same contract they had with Billy. Just don't do a 7-year deal. Do a 5-year deal. Now, Norvell talking about now for Norvell. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about firing Norvell. They would owe him a king's ransom. They would owe him so much money. I don't think they can fire Norvell. He's lost 4 in a row. I don't know how you lose to Stanford. You know, that game got over at 2 a.m. last night. I watched most of it. 2 a.m. That's what happens when you start bringing in teams into your conference that have no business in it. It's the Atlantic Coast Conference. It's not the West Coast, East Coast, Left Coast, Right Coast conference. No, it's Atlantic Coast Conference, which means it's over here on the other side of the country. Instead, you wind up having to fly out to California and having a game at 2 a.m. in the morning. It's crazy. Let's see. Norvell, yeah, but you still got to pay him. You still got to pay the guy some crazy money. Who's that? You think Norvell's going to get fired tomorrow? They usually like to fire these guys when there's an off week and following, and that's what they did with Florida. That's why the timing is what it is. Now, Scott Strickland did not want to fire him, and Scott Strickland does not want to hire Lane Kiffin. I can just go ahead and tell you that for a fact. He hates him. He can't stand his tweets and his lack of professionalism and all that crap that he does. So Strickland, who's the athletic director at Florida, will be fighting this tooth and nail. He'll want probably Alex Golesh or somebody like that, which would be a really good hire for them. He's one of the hottest group of 5 coaches out there. And that's usually what Florida does. They normally don't get the big dog. They feel like, hey, we're Florida. We have unlimited talent in this state, which they do. And we're the Gators, and anybody should want to come here and help us build. And they usually like to go group of 5 or go with an assistant coach. A lot of times they'll do that. But since they did that with Billy Napier, I don't know if they'll do that with Alex Golesh or not. Oh, let's see. I know there's talk of Gruden. I don't know that I see that. I don't think Florida goes that route. It's such a risk to take a professional coach out of the NFL, especially one that hasn't coached in a while. I just think that's a huge risk that they really can't afford to take. And they'd have to pay him a lot of money. And then you have the politics involved with that, which is not good. Ray Finkle. Wait a minute. Ray Finkle. Is that the guy from Ace Ventura? Laces Out? Is that the Ray Finkle you're talking about? Bring Golesh back to Tennessee. Golesh is not coming back to Tennessee unless it was as head coach or something, which that's not happening either. It would end up Belichick. Yeah, see, that could be the case. Smashville dad, you bring in a pro, although I will say this, I think Gruden would handle those kids a lot better than Belichick. You know how he is. I mean, he could care less. Yeah, just get out there and do your job. We pay you to play ball. On to Pittsburgh. They should hire. Yeah, James Franklin wouldn't be a bad hire. He's looking to get hired. And by the way, Penn State, anything that he makes will be offset. So yeah, they owe him 49 or 50 million bucks up there at Penn State. But if he gets a job at, say, Virginia Tech, which I think would be a great fit for him, or one of these others, a little bit smaller school, let's say he makes $5-6 million a year. Well, that's $5-6 million a year that Penn State doesn't have to pay, and Franklin's probably pretty pissed off. So he might cut a deal where you know what, I'll coach for you for $2 million a year. That way, Penn State has to pay him $7 million because I think he makes $9 million a year. That would be funny because that's what Butch Jones did when he went to Alabama as a a specialist or something they called it. They call those guys. He got paid $36,000 a year, and the reason he did that was because he wanted the minimum amount. So Tennessee would have to pay their entire amount that they owed him, which at the time was probably $6 or $7 million. That was back when that was a lot of money, and he didn't want to give them any break at all. So yeah, he went to work for minimum wage. That's a definite possibility. Eli Drinkwitz, although it's not a lateral move. That would be a move up, but it's not a huge move up. Missouri's pretty good. It'd be a slight move up for sure. Not unlike Ole Miss. Ole Miss is in the SEC. It's not as good a job as the Florida job. And he may feel like he's gone as far as he can go with Ole Miss. That would be the only reason he'd leave. But that would be enough for him because he's a job jumper. We all know that. Golesh, now he's not going to come back. He's the head coach, man. He's not going to come back as an offensive coordinator. That's a step down. Even if you pay him more money, that's a step down. Look, he's a hot commodity right now. He's going to get a head coaching job in the Power Four. You can guarantee that. The only way Alex Golesh does not wind up in the Power Four next year is if he chooses not to go. He's going to get a ton of offers. UCLA is going to offer him. Virginia Tech's going to probably offer him. I could think of multiple teams that will offer him because we're not done with the firings. We're just getting started, honestly. You've got Auburn's might be available. I think they'd owe him about $20 million as well. Something along those lines. Might be a little bit more than that. But they got that Yellowwood money, so they could pull it off. Tony Love for the Giants has gone. No, now see, here's the problem with that. I'm going to tell you why that makes no sense for him to go. Number one, if he goes to the Giants, he's got to pay the tax rate of 14%. So he's not going to make any more money. But here's the other thing. He'd have to manage 165 games. There's only 56 games in college, so he's going to work 3 times as much for the same amount of money. So that's stupid. Number one. Number two, you go to San Francisco, he's not going to be a star there. He's a star in Knoxville. He's the mayor. It's either going to be Kiffin or Alex Golesh. Uh-oh. I froze up for a second. Hold on. I know how to get up. I'm back. That happens every once in a while on on StreamYard. You'll freeze up because you're streaming. I don't understand all the technical aspects of it, but it happens. You freeze up, but I do know how to fix it now. I know how to fix it very quickly. I told you I'd get better at this live stuff. Y'all been asking me to go live on some of these shows when we have breaking news and stuff, and that's what I've been doing. This is the Burger King channel. Special orders don't upset us. A glitch. Yeah, I think it is a glitch. They got a big glitch down in Florida. And I'm still shocked they fired Penn State coach Franklin. That really blows my mind. Guy won, an average of 11 games for 3 years. And he started out 3-3, and I mean, they canned him. He was done. So that was very surprising. I think this had been building up. That's the thing about staying at a place for a long time. Most colleges, after about 10 years, they're like fish left out on the porch. They start stinking. People get tired of them. And I think that's what happened up there. They were ready to fire him because he couldn't win the big game. You got to win the big game up there. And look, he brought them from – they were a mess. They had tons of sanctions. They were in a huge mess after all that disaster. Vols' problems. Well, let me tell you the biggest problem the Vols have. They lost both their cornerbacks to injury, and they're paying them both a lot of money, and they're sitting on the bench. Okay, that's the problem with the defense. The offense is good. The offense is fine. They're playing well. Offensive line's playing well. Look, we got beat at Tuscaloosa, and we had a pick six off the 1 yard line. And we still scored 20 points. We should have had 27 or 30. And look, there's not many teams that can go down in Tuscaloosa and win that ball game. I'll just go ahead and tell you. So I'm not prepared. We had Georgia by the throat. We're still 5-2. So I'm not upset with Josh Heupel at all. The big difference between last year and this year is that we had a healthy Gibson and a healthy Jermod McCoy on the other side. They were shut down corners that you could leave on an island, and then you could have your whole defense focus on the run. We can't do that now. And that was not something, that you expect to happen, but it did. We were lucky last year that we didn't have major injuries. We had one linebacker, the Peely guy, that got injured, and that hurt us some. But, we had other linebackers. It's hard. Cornerback is a specialist spot. It's very difficult. You got to have the right attitude, the right amount of physical gifts. And we had two of them, and they both got hurt. We're just doing the best we can. It's tough. I was watching Florida last night. Their whole secondary is hurt. And I thought Mississippi State was going to win that game, and the guy throws a pick to a 340-pound defensive lineman. They were just going to kick the field goal. They're golden or win, and just didn't do it. Let's see. Yeah, that safety was tough. That safety was tough, but he's got his foot stepped on. It's so loud down there. So we had a lot of things that happened because of the crowd noise. That's why it's tough to win on the road, especially in Tuscaloosa. Just same as it is in Neyland. It's hard to win in Neyland because you can't think. It's so loud you can't hear the call, and then you have a false start, and now it's 1st and 15, or you have something along those lines, and you would have had a first down. It snowballs on you a little bit. And then the crowd gets going and the defense gets fired up. It's hard to win on the road, folks. And, oh, by the way, we're going to 9 games next year, thanks to Sankey. So we got that to look forward to. It's only going to get tougher. Just go ahead and tell you. Yeah, he did. He won two titles back in the day. God, he was there forever. Didn't leave in him. Good. Didn't leave right, but it is what it is. I'm not going to talk about any of that. Yeah, Ray Finkle is Einhorn. You're right about that. Einhorn is Ray Finkle. What a great movie. They don't have funny movies like that anymore, folks. Who will leave the transfer portal? Nobody's going to leave from Florida. Everybody's worried. Look, they can't just go play somewhere. They'd have to wait till next year. So yeah, nobody's leaving Florida. That's not. That'd be the last thing I'd be concerned about at Florida, because you get the right coach, and it's not going to make any difference because you can just go in the portal and get what you want. And look what Lane Kiffin did in a year down there. That's the last thing anybody needs to be worrying about is recruiting and all that stuff anymore. That was a big deal back in the day. That's why when Lane left the way he did at Tennessee, it totally screwed us. He left the day before National Signing Day, and we had to wind up hiring a coach at the worst possible time, we go and get a guy that's 4-7 at Louisiana Tech because he had a last name that we recognize named Dooley. He was terrible coach. But that's what Lane did to us. And I'm afraid Tony Vitello is getting ready to pull a Lane Kiffin, and he's going to look back when he's 65 or 70 and say, that's the dumbest decision I've ever made in my life. Just like Lane would tell you today that what he did at Tennessee was the dumbest thing he's ever done ever. And he's probably done a lot of dumb things. Let's see. What do y'all think? Who do y'all think he's going to hire? I've given you 3 names that I think are the most legitimate. Lane, all they want's Lane. I'll go ahead and tell you that's their number 1, number 2, and number 3 is Lane, Lane, Lane. That's all they care about. That's who they want. If they do not get him, they're going to be very disappointed. Alex Golesh, they would accept, but only after Lane has turned them down, and they're going to force Scott Strickland to show up at Lane's house with a boombox over his head like that movie and trying to get him. And Strickland hates him. So that's going to be – Strickland could be the fly in the ointment on this. He could undermine it and probably sabotage the hiring of Lane Kiffin by saying, oh, well, I asked him, which, if you don't really want to hire somebody, there's a way of doing things. He could insult him, in a nice way. He could backhanded compliment him. He could say, well, now I need to know that you're not going to, act like a child on Twitter. I'll need to make sure you're not going to do that. Instead of saying, well, we're a little bit concerned about your social media posts. No, you can say, well, I'm concerned you're going to act like a little punk. And we don't want a punk here, so you're going to have to promise me you're not going to be a little childish punk like you currently are. See, he could say it like that, and then Lane would go, how dare you? I'm Lane Kiffin. Do you know who I am? And he'll say, yeah, I know exactly who you are. You're the punk on social media. That's how that meeting can go. So anyway. Now, as far as I'm seeing people talking about Tony Vitello in here, I don't know. I don't know if he'll. Here's the dumb thing about it too, about the Vitello thing. His manager or his agent either leaked this out, or the Giants did. One of those two, either his agent or the Giants. It didn't come from Knoxville, because the only people that knew that this was going on to that level would have been his agent or the Giants. So one of those two leaked it out. Okay, if it's the agent, I would fire him immediately. If it was San Francisco Giants, I'd be like, oh, so you don't care about me at all, and you want to make me look like an idiot in Knoxville and everybody, get mad at me. Either way, it's bad. But if it's his agent, I would fire him immediately. Said, hey, you cannot be that stupid to leak this out. Unless his agent wants it to happen because he's going to get a big paycheck or something. And that'd be another reason to fire him. I just can't see Franklin would actually be a really solid hire for Florida. I mean, a really solid one. He's a good coach. A guy won 9 games at Vanderbilt consistently. And Clark Lee's winning there for the first time in forever because he's got a generational quarterback in Diego Pavia. The guy's a magic man. I mean, he played so good in that game yesterday. It was ridiculous. I mean, he did some fantastic things. Some of that, it looked like he'd get sacked and he would just do a little twirl. Next thing you know, he's running for a touchdown or throwing for one. I mean, he's a great player. And Auburn could have had him, by the way. Auburn, he wanted to go to Auburn. He was at New Mexico State, and he beat Auburn. And he said, I want to go Power 4. And Hugh didn't want him because he didn't fit his system. And he said, I was going to make him pay for that. Diego said, I'm going to make him pay for that. And he did. He's beaten him 3 times. He beat him when he was at Liberty, and he's beat him twice at Auburn. And he's going to beat him again this year. I think they have to play them. And he'll beat him again. And it'll be number 4 times in a row. But he was not. Can you imagine Auburn with Diego Pavia right now? They'd be 7-0 with that defense they got. Yeah, I think it's Jimmy Sexton. I don't know. No, I don't think Tony's got Jimmy Sexton, does he? I don't think it is. Isn't Finkle getting fired or may get fired? He's at Wisconsin, isn't he? He left from Cincinnati. So I don't think it'll be Luke Finkle. Dabo, Clemson lost, didn't they? Didn't Clemson lose last night? I think they did. Let's see. Yeah, everybody, Brian Kelly. LSU would say absolutely. You take on his contract, we'll be happy to give him to you. No doubt. Yeah, everybody's yelling Lane. I've not heard any other names other than those three. I know there's a couple that are out there that are definite possibilities, but let's see if anybody else has got any other names in here that are interesting. I don't know who Vitello's agent is. Who's Lane's agent? Anybody know that? I hadn't looked that up. I don't think they would consider Clark Lee because I think he's a result of Pavia. I would need to see Clark Lee win without Pavia before I would even consider hiring him for a big-time job. Because they were terrible before Pavia showed up. So I don't think so. I think no. Darth Visor. Oh, he would be, if Lane goes down there, he would be Steve Spurrier 2.0, no question. That would be at least the way to spin it to where it wouldn't bother me as bad, because then we could have Heupel versus Spurrier, a young Spurrier and a young Heupel. That'd be fun. That's how I could turn those lemons into lemonade. I'm going to miss Billy something awful. As a content creator, he has been gold. Having Billy Napier at Florida has been so much fun for me. I've loved doing videos on it. It's been just a blast. It really has been fun. Oh, let's see. Yeah, we had a shot. Look, they're beatable. Alabama's very beatable. We dropped a lot of passes. Definitely dropped a lot of passes. And look, we made a lot of mistakes down there. We really did. Thank you, Rob. I'm not going to disagree with that, but it was obviously the pick six was a 14-point turnaround right there. It's a tight ball game if not for that, which is the only way we were going to win that game was 34-31 or something like that. It was going to be within a score if we won. Is he? Oh, boy. That's not good having Jimmy Sexton as your agent because he is sneaky. Let's see. Yeah, Utah, I don't know. Let's see. Our offense really did. Oh, they scored once. Oh, yeah, SMU did beat Clemson. Yeah, Dabo's got how many? Dabo's got 4 losses now. What's he, 3-4? Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with Texas other than I think Arch Manning's just not that good. They won. They beat Kentucky last night, barely. Now, he's not everybody's agent. There's other agents out there. This is I can tell you for Ole Miss fans, this is a worst-case scenario because here they are. They're having this terrific year. They've only got 1 loss, and it's to Georgia. They've got a great chance to go to the playoff, and then the entire season from this point forward, they're going to have to hear about Lane Kiffin going to Florida. It's going to upset the players at Ole Miss, just like it did a couple years ago when they ruined their season with it. He was like 7-1 or 8-1 2 years ago when they started flirting with Auburn, and they lost 4 games in a row because the players were all distraught, and they were really upset with him. So I don't know how Lane's going to keep this tamped down. This is going to be a major problem for Ole Miss. It could tank their season. I've already seen it happen once. And Lane might want to go. If Lane wants to go to Florida, he can't go out there and just say, "Oh no, I'm definitely not going." Just don't even talk to me about it. I'm staying here, and I'm going to sign a new contract tomorrow. Because if he wants a new contract tomorrow, he'll have one, guaranteed. I'm sure the athletic director at Ole Miss is like, "Oh crap, man, I'm going to have to take this kid to 10, 11 million," and it would be money well spent. You want to keep winning, you keep your coaches. That's why with Tony, they may have to pony up some more dough to keep him. Kenny Dillingham. That wouldn't be a bad hire. That wouldn't be bad. He's got a great quarterback too. That might be okay. Gruden's is a huge – I think Gruden's going to get a job. I just don't think it's going to be at a big, big-time program. Although, you think about Arkansas. He likes Arkansas. Arkansas kind of likes him. But I still think Bobby Petrino's going to get that job, if I had to guess. I mean, they've got such a hard schedule, though. He may not win enough games to where they could keep him. But he's last 2 games, he darn near beat Tennessee, and he looked good last night. They didn't win, but they're playing these really tough teams. Every game's tough that they've got left. So is Florida's. Florida's schedule's a nightmare. Yeah, Golesh would be a great hire. That would be, for the money, the best hire they could possibly bring in there. For the money, he's the guy. You get him probably for $7 million, $7.5 million, something like that. He'd probably sign a 5-year deal. If you get Lane, you got to give him the world. You got to give him 9 years guaranteed at probably starting at 11, graduating up $250,000 every year, up to probably $15 million, something stupid by the end of the thing. And it's going to be 100% guaranteed. It's going to be 100% guaranteed. And it won't be, if you take another job somewhere, it offset. It's going to be, no, I get all of it. It's going to be just like that deal that Jimbo Fisher got at Texas A&M. See, it doesn't matter what Jimbo Fisher does. He can go take another job. He can become president of the United States. He's getting his $76 million. That's how that was all guaranteed. And this guy right here, Lane, is going to do the exact same thing. He's going to get his $11 million guaranteed over like 9 years. And then if they even think about firing him, he'll say, that's fine, give him my $100 million. And I'll go somewhere else. Let's see. Ron DeSantis. No, I think he's the governor. Georgia Tech. That Georgia Tech coach, I can't remember his name. He's really good. That guy's doing a great job at Tech. That is not an easy place to coach at all. It's an engineering school. It's not an easy school to get into. And he's doing a fantastic job. We got to play them, by the way, because Nebraska chickened out. And that's who I think, Matt Rule, I think that's who wants the Penn State job really bad. And he's probably going to get it because Kirk Cignetti's already out. So, no, Bob Stoops will never come out of retirement. He's done. That will never happen. Brent Key. Where is Brent Key? I can't remember. Where is Brent Key? I can't. Oh, that's it. Okay, he's the Georgia Tech guy. That name sounded so familiar. Yeah. Let's see. Looks like you're a Florida State guy. Yeah, Norvell. Man, I can't believe Norvell is struggling like this. After they beat Alabama in that first game, they've gone to crap. They're 3-4 now. I mean, how do you lose to Stanford? Stanford's terrible. They're awful. And they had a backup quarterback in. It makes no sense to me. You're going to have to put him in a cryo machine to hire Lou Holtz. Well, I'm not giving him praise. I'm just telling the truth. He's a good coach. Oh, crap. I froze up again. Don't worry. The dreaded freeze. The dreaded freeze. I used to panic when that happened back when I did live. I had no idea how to fix it. And I had to research that one, but I know how to fix it now. No, I'll tell the truth about coaches. That's the one thing about me. Even if I don't like them, I will tell that, like, Billy's no good. Okay, he's not a good coach. Lane is. Billy's a good person. Lane is a job jumper and will stab you in the back. So I'm not a fan of Lane as a person because of what he did at Tennessee and some of his other crap that he does. But he's a good football coach. You win at Ole Miss for years with multiple different quarterbacks. I mean, he's got a backup quarterback in there that looks amazing, and that's his backup. The dude's a QB whisperer. He's a good coach. Sorry, he just is. It's one of the reasons why Tennessee was so mad when he left. And then he went out to – what a dumb move that was. Went out there with a team that had tons of sanctions. Matt Rule. Well, you know what Matt Rule does well? He builds he's good at like rebuilding a program that's in trouble, that's dealing with crap. I don't know how good he is. It's one thing to build it, it's another thing to keep it up to a certain level. But he's good at rebuilding stuff. He's done it a couple times. And he's been kind of moving his way up. So I would not be honestly, he's probably going to get the Penn State job. That's what because he wants it. He wants it. I think Penn State fans would accept him. He played it. He played there. That's another huge thing for people. For some reason, if you played there, then that makes you the perfect fit. It doesn't really mean that, but it makes you feel good because they played there. At least you know that, he loves the place. So that makes some sense. It doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach, though. Oh, I did see him get – that was bad. That was a bad hit. That was such a crappy hit, too. The Thomas Castellanos he slid. He feet first, which means you do not hit the quarterback when that happens. And that punk went down and hit him like this, and it hit Castellanos' head, and his head went against the ground, and it rung his bell and gave him probably a pretty bad concussion. And that should not have happened. That was it. And they threw him out of the game, of course. That made me so mad. I hate that. I despise that when players do that. I mean, the guy's in a helpless position, and you come down and pop him in the head. That is, God, it made me mad. And it hurt him, too. You saw Castellanos, his arm went flailing, and it was up here like this, and he was like, he didn't know where he was. I am glad they're protecting quarterbacks now because that used to be normal. You remember back in the 80s? You remember the Chicago Bears? They knocked quarterbacks out. They used to give each other money for knocking quarterbacks out, and they would hit them late constantly, and it wasn't even a penalty. You do that nowadays, you're not going to see the field for a while. Yeah, Aguilar was hurt. He got hurt. They hit him in the neck when he went out of bounds. They popped him in the neck, and he played hurt the rest of the game. He's tough, though. He's a big, tough dude. I don't know what they'd had to carry me out on a stretcher if somebody hit me in the back of the head like that. And the game before, if you'll remember, they pushed him out of bounds, and he went up and he hit that big box that controlled the communications to the helmets. So every time he goes out of bounds, he gets pushed. And we were lucky he didn't get hurt in that game. It just messed up the machine. Boy, it is pouring down rain here in Pigeon Forge, folks. Woo! It's knocking the windows down. It came out of nowhere. Lane Kiffin. Oh, there's an Ole Miss person. Addison Book. Lane Kiffin isn't touching that Florida Pine box. I don't blame you, Ole Miss. This would make me mad too because y'all have got a coach you're happy with, and he's constantly flirting, and people are flirting with him, and he loves it. Just go ahead and tell you he's not going to put it into it. He'll at least get 11.
Hello. Let's see. I think this thing's still going. I don't have any power, folks. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna end this thing. End stream.